How is everybody? Can you hear me? All right. So we're bringing back something that we've done in the past called intro talks. We're not starting. This isn't the main content. We have Ryan McDonald here from a company called VSnap, and he's going to give an intro talk for a half an hour while we all eat pizza and as people continue to come in. So you can still keep eating pizza. People will be coming in the meantime. We'll give our official announcements at 7 p.m. and then we'll roll into the educational tracks. But I'm excited for this talk. Ryan works for VSnap, which is a really cool company here in Boston, and he's going to give a talk about how he shifted careers. I won't say later in life because he's a young guy. Shifted careers from electrical engineering to software, which is in his 30s. So we're happy to have you, Ryan. Take it over.
Thank you very much. So you'll have to excuse me if I'm bouncing back and forth to the finish line for a while. But I just want to say thank you to Matt and Steve for inviting me here and everybody else at the Boston PHP meetup. How about now? Yeah, better? This one looks... Thank you, though. Thank you guys, and I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who's part of the Boston and PHP meetup who's helped put together this 200 days of code. I think it's incredibly important to cultivate opportunities for people to learn regardless of their skill level, and it really kind of adds to and enriches the Boston tech community, and keeps us moving forward. I'm Ryan McDonald, and I'm here to just kind of tell my story. I have a couple slides to keep me on track and keep everybody awake, and really it's just going to be kind of my experiences going from graduation, into entering the workforce as an electrical engineer, to kind of pivoting after about 5 years, having some success. It wasn't like I got chased out of the profession, and then learning to code in particular for the web, and sort of the networks and the resources that I found in order to help me learn that, and then just some of my takeaways, and then I'll open the floor for questions if anybody has any. So the story starts in 2009. I graduated from the University of Denver, and like about everybody who doesn't have a job lined up after graduation, it was sort of a joyous but kind of confusing time and uncertain. It was kind of where do I go from here with this great degree that I now have? And in 2009. As an engineer, you had more opportunity, a little more was available to you in terms of the job market. But for most people in 2009, this was the sad truth. People were really struggling to find work. And so really, if you could get a job, you were crazy not to take it. So while I was in Denver, I got an email from a company looking for an electrical engineer to do their solar PV design. My major was computer engineering with a specialization in robotics, so I had taken the electrical courses. But really my passion was in programming, and what I really loved was embedded systems. I wanted to build printed circuit board, select the chipsets, pick the microcontroller, and then program it to do very specific tasks. That really blew my hair back. That was something that I wanted to make a career out of. But electrical engineering came along. It was a good job. I made a quick list. Pros and cons very quick because we had a ton of other prospects. But basically, it was a great opportunity, in a small company. So I was kind of thrust into this, lead engineering position right out of college, with really valuable work experience and obviously paycheck, which was a big one. But then there were the other kind of nagging aspects of it where it wasn't really in the field that I had studied. I would have to move out of Denver, which, as everybody knows, is paradise. And I had to really kind of give up on my dream of programming, becoming a software developer, a computer engineer, before it really even got started. So it was just kind of something that I really needed to make peace with. But I was surprised to learn when I was doing research for this talk that I wasn't really making that strange of a decision. This was very common. The Bureau of the Census did a study in 2010 that showed of all the college graduates they polled, 62% worked in a job that required a college degree. So almost half didn't even get a job that required the degree that they just spent all that time and money getting. What's even more surprising is only 27% of those grads polled worked in a field that was relative to their major or their degree. So it made me feel a little bit better to learn that, but at the same time, in the moment I didn't know, and I felt like this was, kind of almost giving up on my career. So I took a job at solar, moved to Boston. I got a place in Cambridge. The company was a small company up in North Chelmsford, and I was kind of, immediately pushed out of the frying pan into the fire. I did electrical design for commercial industrial solar arrays. It was extremely cool. I mean, it was a great time to be in solar. It was a lot of kind of real world experience and engineering experience that I got in 4 or 5 years. That I mean, even to this day, a lot of the guys that graduated with still haven't gotten to that point in their career. So invaluable. Wouldn't trade it for the world. These are just some of the projects that I designed and worked on just in the Northeast. A couple in Massachusetts. There's this bottom left one is in ShopRite in Philadelphia. And then this is about career change, not how awesome this really was. Yeah, so then they reached a point after about 4 or 5 years where the job itself, the industry, really started to kind of plateau, level off. In 2009, there was the administration was making a real big push with subsidy, with policy and reform to really incentivize people to build solar. Therefore, there was a lot of money going into it, and there's a lot of projects getting built. Like any policy, there is kind of a target, and once that target is reached, the effort and and the money and kind of the drive behind it falls off, like a cliff. And so we were kind of seeing some of that in 2012, 2013 in Massachusetts in the solar industry, and it really reflected at the company I was at. So, my role kind of changed. I went from being the expert witness and engineer on record in front of planning boards and zoning hearings in New Jersey, flying out to Sandia National Laboratories out of Mexico, to sitting at a desk designing the same array for a different plot of land over and over and over again for proposals that never were going to get built. And so I felt this need for a change, and not just a change in company, but a change in field. And I kind of remembered when I took the job how I felt like I never really gave my programming a chance. And I thought, this is my time. We were joking earlier about the previous title of this, my midlife career change. But yeah, I did feel like, I'm still young, I'm going to change careers, I'm going to start fresh. This is the time. Now is when I can do it. So I left the solar company, and I started looking at some of my prospects, but part of what I wanted to talk about today, just my experience maybe, were some of the reactions I got from friends and family and coworkers to my decision to just, kind of cut bait and start over. My favorite was the very specific why. There were so many reasons, but then the people who I had worked with started asking me, should I be getting out of solar? Is this, do you know something I don't? What's your plan? What should I be, worried about? And then this is one of my favorites. I thought things were going well, and I think this is a very big component to the career change story and what people are, worried about, but also I think a lot of people who decide to change careers at some point are asked this and experience this kind of question is, does my job have to be awful for me to want a new one? And the answer is a resounding no. Things were going well, and things probably could have continued to go well. There was light at the end of the tunnel. It wasn't like the solar industry was dead and gone. I still keep in touch with all the people I work with back at that company, and they're all very happy, and they work hard, and there's still plenty of work to be done. But what's important is about how I felt and what I needed. And so this question always kind of brings a smile to my face. Things don't have to be going poorly for you to want something else. And it's important to listen to yourself and really constantly be taking inventory and understand yourself and know what you want. That's the first step in going to get it. And then this was my other favorite. Like I did something so awful, I had to exit the industry immediately and hide under a rug or something. That one I really liked. But I also kind of got the congrats. Like this is a bold move. We're proud of you. I mean my parents especially really excited. For me to kind of take charge, and it takes courage to kind of steer your ship in a different direction, especially after about 5 years of some success, and I had built a reputation for myself in the solar industry. I had made a lot of good contacts, and I was part of some really cool projects and interesting research work. So I think it took some guts, and then what to do instead was really the big question. So I did a little research. This is actually some information that I found in 2013 when I was looking. But basically, I don't have to tell you guys, the tech industry is growing at an exponential rate, and especially in Massachusetts. So when I started looking at some of these numbers, and I started thinking about what baseline skills I had, what I wanted to be doing for a job, on a day-to-day basis, but also what my projected career path would be. It was kind of a no-brainer for me to really start with software and with tech and the internet, even though I really didn't have any hard skills yet. So this was my naive perception of career change. I had spent all this time, building a reputation for myself, kind of learning the skills to be an electrical engineer in the solar space, and now here I am with really no good reason other than I wasn't happy, starting over and really kind of wiping the slate clean of everything that I had built for myself in the last 4 years, or so I thought. I said, I had to have a plan, and so I started on my own, as a lot of people do, and I just kind of Googled things and went online and looked for books, looked for resources, looked for tutorials. I read the Michael Hartle's Ruby on Rails guide, a whole handful of those O'Reilly programming guides and manuals, and then I tried some of the other online resources, web tutorials, things that ThoughtBot offered. Code School's another good website if you guys are looking for some resources. Very kind of easy to follow along, very basic tools for learning the building blocks of the scripting languages, in software development, and in particular in web development. And I had done some reading. I knew that where I wanted to go was kind of more towards back-end code, and not so much the front end. Creativity is something I'm constantly working on. I do much better with math, with concrete numbers, and so I figured a good way to start was just to make use of the free resources at my disposal. This is where those free resources and that time spent kind of got me. It took a long time. I mean, it's hard to teach yourself. You have this idea, this plan, and the roadmap seems very straightforward, and you get to each stop in each direction, and there reached a point in my, I think I spent about 2 months, maybe a little more, just kind of going through the online stuff, trying to teach myself. There reached a point where I needed to talk to a human, You know, I didn't know how to ask the question I had. I just knew that I didn't have the answer. And there's, you know, Googling helps, but you got to be good at it. I mean, I didn't know that either. There's a skill with crafting a Google search, and I didn't have it yet. So I started to really think about what my next steps were going to be, and like I said, it had been about 2 to 3 months, and so you know I'm starting to kind of get that itch, and I've been unemployed, and you know there's people asking me questions, and then I start to kind of live inside my head too much, and so these are some of the hurdles. And this slide is, you know, very general kind of outline, but these hurdles are going to kind of continue through the remainder of the talk. And basically, you know, there's the obvious financial hurdles, right? And I had reached a point where the free tools were no longer sufficient for me to learn at a rate fast enough to get myself a new job, you know, before I ran out of money. On top of that, I was, you know, I'm married, and during this process, we found out that my wife and I were going to have a kid. So, you know, that was, yeah, thank you. That was awesome until I started doing a little fuzzy math. You know, I was like, man, kids are expensive, and I don't have a job. So you know, there was kind of that added stress that, you know, it was a motivator, but at the same time, it was terrifying, you know, to be unemployed and, you know, be expecting. And then, you know, there was sort of the personal hurdles. And, you know, this is obviously specific to me, but I'm sure there are people out there who have experienced some of these same feelings, you know, where you feel like you're starting over. You know, that graphic I showed earlier of that giant career ladder, and you know, the woman says that it seemed smaller last time. You know, you feel like you've already done this, like you're past this. You know, you shouldn't have to go through it again. And those are really you know, just raw emotions. They're not as logical as you think they are when you first feel them. And so there was that. There was this fear of failure. You know, I had a great job. What if I don't make it as a developer? What if, you know, I've never really become very good? I'm mediocre for the rest of my life, and you know, here I am. I missed my opportunity to be a fantastic electrical engineer somewhere. You know, and then there's the unknown and all the things that I didn't know about the industry, that I didn't know to worry about, and so I worried, you know, and all these things are just kind of, you know, your mind really wreaks havoc on you as you know, the hours and the days and the weeks tick by, and you still haven't kind of gotten yourself in any position, you know, any better position to get a job. So after about 3 months, I reached this point, which was my self-esteem was so low, it was the only reason I needed to work, was to just have a higher opinion of myself. I didn't even care about money or you know, furthering my status. I just felt like a jobless loser, and you know, it's really hard to kind of dig yourself out of that hole once you find yourself there. And so I knew that this whole teaching myself wasn't really the final solution. So I started looking elsewhere, and I found the Startup Institute. Now there are a lot of different you know, courses and programs that are offered, especially in the Boston area, and these programs are fantastic. The people who put them on, you know, are visionaries, and really they care so much about not just every member that steps into the door, but also about the community and the ecosystem and the industry that you know, that they're kind of supplying talent for. And so I had done some research. My sister actually works for an accelerator out in Colorado, and she had mentioned the Startup Institute to me as something that a coworker of hers was very impressed with. So I went in and I applied, and one of the things that I immediately noticed, with, you know, in addition to all these, was really just the atmosphere and the energy. It was palpable. You know, that was the first thing that hit me like a ton of bricks walking into that door. Was everybody there was excited about learning and about this new career and this new idea of themselves, and you know, it was contagious. You couldn't help it. You walk in the door, you just start smirking, you know, like you didn't even have a plan for the day. You just go and sit down and open your computer. But there was just something about it that really motivated me. It kind of renewed my drive to become a developer and to really break into this you know, technology field. But you know, in addition to that, there was the structure that I lacked. You know, I would pull up a website, I'd try a tutorial, it was about as basic as it can get, and then as soon as I tried to deviate from that plan, hit a roadblock or run into a question that I needed help with, or something that the tutorial was insufficient in covering the first time, and it was very challenging. It wasn't that I couldn't get past it; it would just take too long, and I would get frustrated. And this provided me with a lot of structure and how to learn about not just the skills and the code and the frameworks, but also about the industry that I was endeavoring to join. And startup culture is very different, and the startup business plan is very different than your kind of typical corporate mainstream business. And so what the Startup Institute provided was kind of an education, a complete comprehensive education on startups and on your future in this world. So it was fantastic. I met I think it was about 70 or 80 people in the course during my fall term, and I still keep in touch with just about every single one. And that kind of leads me to the final and maybe the most important aspect of that was just this new professional network. I think a lot of people, kind of got something different from the Startup Institute. Some people came in with much more defined base level skill sets. Some people came in with, very, very relevant experience in their previous life, and it was very easy to kind of see the transition into what they wanted to do next. But everybody really got this incredible network of people who were just, excited, energetic, very, very open and welcoming and friendly and just very, creative. And everybody has ideas, and nobody's telling you no or, well, it's a good idea, but good luck. Everybody wants to know how they can help. Everybody's excited about getting a new job, and not just their job, but your job and your job, and everybody wants everybody to succeed. And that network really helped me kind of align my goal with kind of the efforts that I was making in order to get there. So, I walked into there early on thinking I want to be a back-end developer. And about halfway, 2/3 of the way through, I realized that I didn't just want to be a back-end developer. I wanted to be a back-end developer that had the opportunity to potentially become a full-stack developer. And these were the stacks I was interested in. And what I was looking for was a small to medium-sized company that had this aspects of culture and this, and just so much more clarity and focus in what my goal was. Whereas before I was just kind of like, yeah, I want to get paid money and code. And it was really all because these fantastic people at the Startup Institute. I forget what this slide is. Oh yeah, so this was me before the Startup Institute, and yeah, it was kind of sad. And then this was me after the Startup Institute, and I nailed it. It just really gave me the tools I needed to understand how to help myself. And that's the thing, it wasn't like a college course where here's the textbook, here's the curriculum, you can expect to have these 3 tests, you'll have 2 quizzes, and here's the criteria for grading at the end. What it was, hey, on Saturday, there's a meetup here, and it's not mandatory, but these other guys are going. And by the way, there's a really good opportunity, you're going to meet somebody there who can help you with your problem. And if they can't, they probably know somebody who also has a similar problem, and now the 2 of you can combine your efforts and go find the solution. And on Tuesday we're bringing in this CEO who works at this company who has had, it was just, what it did was it provided this framework for learning where now instead of just kind of, sludging my way through what I could find on Google, I actually had, a process. And so I was learning much faster, and I was recognizing patterns, and I could apply things that I learned in Ruby to JavaScript to HTML and CSS, and now just because it was different syntax and different coding languages, the concepts became apparent to me, whereas before they weren't. And so 8 weeks at the Startup Institute was life-changing, really awesome time, went by in a blink of an eye, and then they said good luck. Merry Christmas. I got out right before Christmas, which is an awesome time to get a job. And they said, remember what we taught you. Do interviews, do coffee meetings, work your network, and practice your skills. And I kind of started to get that fear again, like, oh good, well, I thought I was gonna have a job lined up after this, but yeah, it kind of went exactly like they said. I did interview, and I went to a lot of places, and you know, they were a good fit culturally, but not for my skill level, or you know, they had an entry-level position or a position for, you know, maybe a sales type engineer, but not really exactly what I was looking for. And I just felt like I've come so far. I'm not ready to settle on something that I don't love, that isn't a perfect fit. I mean, I know I can find it. I now have the tools to get myself there. And you know, lo and behold, the thing that ended up really being the deciding factor was my network. One of my good buddies, who I went through the Startup Institute with, had contacted me. He said, hey, how you doing? I said, great, how are you? He goes, good, I got a job. I said, congrats. And he said, no, it's great. It's at that company VSnap that you know, that we were talking about, and they have an opening for a junior developer. And you know, if he had said those words to me a year before, I'd been like, junior developer? I have been an electrical engineer, designing, but it's all part of it. You know, I had come this far, and you know, it was not about my ego or what I thought of myself. It was about the greater goal and what I needed to do to position myself to get what I wanted. And he said, you know, you should really come in. You know, send your resume. You know, make sure you send them a VSnap. That's the secret. And they love that. And you know, be honest and be yourself. And I think that it'll be a perfect fit culturally. And you know, I think you know, it's a junior role, so they're not really looking for somebody to wow them, you know, with their coding skills. I said, all right, I'll do that. And you know, I went in. I sat down with Chris, you know, who's here today, and I really, I mean, immediately felt like I had found it, you know, and I hadn't had that feeling in any of the other interviews before or after the startup. It was this like sensation that washed over me, and I was like, man, like I gotta get this job. This is it, you know. These are my people, you know, and they want to teach me more, and they're cool with, you know, my skill level and my understanding, because they believe I can learn and I can be taught, and it was just such like I mean, I remember I went home and I said to my wife, you know, I think this is it, and I really hope that they offer me a job, you know, and she said, I'm sure, you know, if it went that well, I'm sure they will, and they did, and so I started, and since last February, I've been working as a junior developer at VSnap. It's you know, a small team. We're about 15 people strong. There's about 5 of us on the development team, and I've probably learned more in the last 10 months than I did in the last 10 years. And it's, you know, it's all because you know, I found the right fit, and I kind of took the steps necessary and was, you know, kind of open-minded enough and humble enough to realize that it's not about what I think is the answer. It's about getting to the answer, and you know, allowing people to help you do that. And so, you know, one of the things that I already touched on, but you know, one of the things that I want to take away is it's never too late to do what you want to do. And something that kind of struck me from one of the earlier graphics and stats I showed was that you know, 62% of the college grads in 2010 were working a job that they needed a college degree for. So almost half of the graduates they polled got a job that they could have had without spending all that time and money. And that's a tough pill to swallow. But if all of those people thought that they couldn't do anything about it, or that this was the hand they were dealt, or that there were no resources or no tools for them, they already went to college, what else is there? Then that's a really, really sad state of affairs. And I think what I've found in my kind of journey is that a community like the Boston Tech community is exactly what we need more of. And we really need to make sure we continue to grow this community, because what I found was that everybody here is so accepting and so eager to help. And really kind of has this you know, big picture global mindset of a rising tide floats all boats. You know, we're all going to succeed. And if you need help getting there, I'm here to help you. And that made it possible. And so, you know, when Chris, you know, was talking to me about, you know, well, you know, we really want you to do a talk, and I'm saying to him, man, what am I going to talk about? You know, you teach me something new every day. I can't teach anybody. He said, you know, why not talk about career change? Because that's something that is obviously on a lot of people's minds, but it's something that I know and that I'm passionate about. And passion is the key, you know. And so I look around this room and you know, I think about how you know, long-standing and successful the Boston PHP meetup has been, and it's because of passionate people. You know, guys like Matt and Gene who really, you know, take time out of their day to do something that is for everyone. And it's, you know, it's I'm sure gratifying for them, but it serves a much bigger purpose. And so, you know, one thing that I just want to make sure everybody, you know, kind of gets from this is, you know, that we all have a part to play. Even if you're not changing careers, if you know somebody who is, or if you meet somebody who is, you can help. You know, you can play a role in that story. You can be part of their network. You can be a mentor. You know, and a good buddy of mine has a saying that he probably stole it from somebody, but I'm going to give him credit for it. He says, you know, in order to keep progressing in life, you always need to have a mentor and a protege. And he's exactly right. You know, it's so important to be learning from our peers and to continue to challenge yourself. But at the same time, those things you learn get cemented in your brain, get solidified when you teach them to somebody else. So while you believe you're helping someone, you're really doing yourself a service. And I see that every day in this Boston tech community. And so, you know, if we can keep doing that, and we can keep making things like 200 days of code available to people, where there's opportunities regardless of skill level to come in, learn, speak with somebody who might know more than you, explain a concept to somebody who knows less than you about it, this is how we're going to raise the tide. And you know, I think that I'm just thrilled to be a part of it. So you know, that's really my talk, what I had to say. If you guys have any questions or anything, you know, I'm open. But yeah, thank you very much.